So I had an evening of flashing ESPHome to all this things. It's not just another random table full of crap. Yes, I'm taking my shit out the cloud, and you should too. And how do we exactly do that? I mean, this is Tuya-Cloudcutter. There's no soldering. It's all going to be over-the-air exploits. That's the cool part of this, is pretty much anybody can do this. And, well, why do I want to do this? So, for instance, let's take this light bulb. Is typically you would need to pair that up to the cloud, download the app and all that stuff, put it into the cloud, and then when you want to use it with Home Assistant, well, then you got to put it into Home Assistant with some weird plug-in and log in and everything, and then it goes around the world, comes back to you just to turn on the damn light bulb. Let's not do that. How about we make it local? Let's put ESPHome on these, and that way Home Assistant will talk directly from never leaving your house right to that light bulb. You can change everything, and you can do a bunch of cool features that you normally couldn't do anyway. So with that, how we're going to exactly do that is, of course, again, no soldering. You'll take a Raspberry Pi, we'll load some special software on it, run a process, we'll pair the bulb with the Raspberry Pi. It thinks it's talking to the mothership, then we'll send over ESPHome and call it a day, and now it's ours since we paid for it anyway, right? We should be able to control everything that happens with it and not rely on someone else's server to do the thing. Now, it's not just light bulbs. We have like power strips, we have some cool light switches, fan controllers, all kind of things. And I will say, and not really the sky is falling, but we are continuing to see more and more of different firmware upgrades and different stock coming with firmware patched, and you would need to use the serial flashing process, which is not over the air, unfortunately. So definitely get your stuff out the cloud while you can. It's that, cat and mouse game of finding all the exploits. Now, of course, I'll leave all the links down below for the guide, the whole text guide, loading everything. If you just want to jump to that, you're more than welcome to. You can jump through all the chapters down below, however you feel, and try to fit everyone in there for all the information they need so they can take their shit out the cloud. So I really don't have a script we're going to follow here, but I am going to go through the guide that I have on my website. So if you just want to go follow along and skip through that crap, or pause and do things, or copy and paste, however you want to do things, we're just going to take it step by step. As always, remember, there's the chapters. What do you need? We will need a Raspberry Pi. At least I'm using that. You're welcome to use other things if you're more the advanced type, as we talked about. Now, a special thing on the Raspberry Pi, you cannot use the Wi-Fi on it. So think about where you're going to put this at. You do need to use Ethernet on it, because we're going to be using the Wi-Fi to actually do the exploit to the smart bulb, plug, whatever it may be. So that will not be available. Now, also make sure when you're doing the exploit, also have the device that you're trying to exploit next to the Raspberry Pi. Don't try to do it across the house. It's just not going to work. Have them like in the same room, maybe like 10 feet away or something like that. You should be fine. Now, of course, my little list changes all the time. Some of the ones I really love is like the Ultra Pro switch, the Cree light bulbs. If you can find them, they're really good light bulbs for doing Cloudcut, but they have been discontinued. So if you do find them, go ahead and snag them while you can. So starting off with the Raspberry Pi, of course, you're going to need a micro SD card. Now, do not download the latest Raspberry Pi OS, because we've seen some issues with it. I know for a fact the 2022 0404 version works awesome without any issues, and that's the one I'm going to be using. You will need the Raspberry Pi Imager for your operating system. I am using Windows here, but you're welcome to use whatever operating system you like, as long as it supports the Pi Imager. So I've left a link here, and this actually links to legit raspberrypi.org and pulls down the correct version. You can just click it and it should start downloading. Check your browser if it doesn't, and let's rock and roll. Now at this point, you'll need to put the micro SD card in a micro SD slot or whatever to do the actual flashing and installing of the software on the SD card. I'm going to try not to waffle much. Everybody loves that. Choose device. Don't pick that, because I just double clicked on my image. It actually has that 2022 Choose storage. This is the one I need. I have a 32 gig card. Make sure you don't overwrite something you don't need to overwrite. Been there, done that. And hit next. Now it's going to ask about, hey, do you want to apply OS customization settings? Absolutely, yes. It saves a crap ton of time. So hit edit settings. Go in and set your ID and password that you want. Don't forget it. I guess if you really had to, you could just rewrite the card. I didn't set the host name. You're more than welcome to. If you don't want to use like IP addresses, it makes you super lazy, but maybe smarter. So set your time zone. Good to go. We'll go to services. Also, you do need to enable SSH and go ahead and do use password authentication. We're not putting this out on the internet, and you shouldn't. Options, you can do whatever you want there. I just say eject when done, and then say, yep, I want to go ahead and apply the settings, and yep, I want to erase the stuff. I'm pretty sure on that card, yep. And it's saying prepare to write, and then we'll hurry up and wait once it's done. And as always, if you ever get stuck on any step of this, just come to my Discord. You can find the link down below, or it's just discord.digiblur.com. It should take you to an invite. All right, we get our continue message. You may get, if you're on Windows, Wonderful Windows is going to try to say, hey, you want to format this thing. It's going to give you a bunch of error messages. Just don't. Leave it alone. Hit cancel. You don't want to do any of that crap and screw up your card. Hit continue. And now we're going to go eject the card. And you do need to put this in the Raspberry Pi. Don't break it. Plug it into power along with Ethernet. And then we're going to jump into SSH to do some commands on it. The geeky stuff. But don't worry, it's just copy and paste. And don't worry, once you do plug it in, just have some patience. It does take some time for the initial boot and everything for Raspberry Pi. And then you can look on your router, look for something new with the new IP address, or if you were smart enough to use the host name, you could use that. And just now we're going to open up. I'm going to use PuTTY, but you can use whatever SSH tool you want. Okay, so we can scroll down the guide, skip all this crap because we already did all that. And then we will get to the spot where we need to log in. Oh, need to do that. And then we need to run sudo raspi config, and we need to go set our localization options. So we go to localization options, and this is where we need to set our Wi-Fi configuration. Otherwise, it turns the Wi-Fi adapter off. So just go set it for your country or whatever one you think is your favorite. Okay, we're set to US here, and then we'll just tab, hit finish, and then say, yeah, you're gonna have to reboot. And you're going to get the wonderful message. It disconnects, but we will reconnect. Now, then here's some steps we're going to do, and we will not reboot until we get down to here. So it's just going to be some copying and pasting. I think this is the worst of it right here. Yeah, it's pretty difficult. All right, we're back in. We're going to copy this here. Once you hit yes, then that's actually where you can run off and go leave. Hit yes. You hit enter, and then this is the part that, you know, go eat dinner or something, because it can take anywhere from 5 minutes to whatever, 30 minutes. I'm not exactly sure. I normally walk away from this part. You just need to copy and paste this section in here, and we're going to go add a line to a file. So we'll paste this in, hit enter. You will need to use the keyboard commands if you're not used to this. Just hit page down all the way down to the very last line, and then we'll jump back and copy and paste the deny interfaces WLAN. Hit enter, Control O, I'm gonna write the file, hit X, you're good to go. If you're curious, you can just hit up arrow, and then you can go check to make sure your stuff's saved if you're not sure of the commands for Nano. I don't really remember them. I just remember Control O is overwrite, and then Control X is to exit out. I'm sure there's a quicker one. Someone will tell me in a comment, which would be perfect. Copy this one, paste it in. I like to just copy this whole section here. Just hit the copy button or drag over it. And then that way I can just nuke all of this. And that way I won't screw it up like I did in one of my other videos, and then right click and paste it in. You know, you typed it all right because it's just copy and paste, right? And we'll hit Control O, hit enter and X. And if you want to check your work, you're more than welcome to. Boom. Here's the fun part if you've been waiting for, is you want to do the reboot. Just do sudo reboot. Pretty simple. and hurry up and wait. And then we actually need to install the actual Docker service, not as Docker container, but the service that runs all of your Docker containers. We'll do this command here. It does take a little bit, not too bad, just depends. Again, it's one of those things, if you got something else you want to do around the house, just get up and let it rip.
You guys need? Greg, Janice?
We sure did.
While we're here, we'll look at the next section. Now, this is going to be for if you've already built the Tuya-Cloudcutter before and you just need to update it. So we do need to make sure and do the git clone. So there's going to be install git. I think it might already be, but we'll just go check, make sure. And looks like git is already installed. Good to go there. So then we just need to do the git clone, which will pull down Cloudcutter to the Pi. Again, just pasting in a bunch of commands. This one should go quick. So next we're going to change to the Cloudcutter actual folder. Pretty simple, cd to your Cloudcutter, hit enter. Now this is a step that can take some time as well, but that's just the first time you do this. Each other time, it's not going to take this long time to run. So just go ahead and paste this in here. And while that's running, we're going to go get one of our first victims. Smart lights or bulbs or something to try this out on. So we'll go ahead and hit enter on that, and it's going to let it build the Docker image. Like I said, it does take time. It's especially on the Pi 3, it does take a long time. Now, once it's done, you should get a message about, hey, do you want to detach and run locally, or do you want to flash third party? You want to flash third party. We want to put ESPHome on our stuff. We don't want the Tuya firmware on them. There are some instances maybe that you'll run the Tuya firmware, but I'm just not doing that. I like ESPHome. So I want to show you just in case if you want to get back in. So like, you want to restart stuff and everything, or you've rebooted the Pi and you didn't want to go back all through the entire guide. It's really this simple to get stuff going again. If you just do cd to your Cloudcutter from your initial SSH, and it should jump you to the folder, but we're already in there. And then if you run that command, that sudo.tuya-cloudcutter sh-r, and just hit enter, and you'll see it's going to say it's building that Docker image. But look, it didn't take that much time at all. We're right here at the little prompt. And this is where we're going to do our device. And what I'm going to use for my first victim, I've got this little 3-port power strip, and we're going to go try this first. And if there's a couple different things, if there's not what they call a profile for your device, and what that means by when you hit 2, it's going to say, hey, what all different devices do you have? And we're going to say by manufacturer device name. So yeah, there's a big list. They've done a really good job of covering a bunch of different devices and a lot of different versions of software on multiple devices. So KMC, there's that 3-outlet power strip. They're saying it has version 1.18. It's very important that if for some reason your exploit doesn't work, then I'll show you on that. We'll go in and we'll check the app. You actually do have to pair it with the Tuya app to go find out the exact version of your device. And we'll pick this option here. It's going to go ahead and run some stuff. It's going to ask us if we want ESPHome or OpenBeacon. Again, you can use OpenBeacon. I'm just not covering it. I don't use it. And then this is where you need to go and plug your stuff in. Now pay attention to the text here. So I'm going to hold down the power button. Now the bulbs can be weird, like some of the Cree bulbs. You need to make sure all of this stuff ends up in this slow blink mode, meaning it puts out an access point, not the initial fast blink. And sometimes it can be a pain with the bulbs, and you'll need to get your sunglasses out because you're going to get blinded by cycling bulbs like 5 times and then waiting and then 5 times again. And you got to do that twice. So I'm going to hold the button down on this guy and see what happens. So we got a fast blink mode. You can see that here. I'm going to hold that down. And you'll know when you get a slow blink because it'll say, hey, you found access point, Smart Life, or it's going to be something different. It may actually be the actual vendor name. So just hold up, let it do its thing. Now look again. Pay attention to the first word, power cycle. So like unplug it and then plug it back in. Now this is the tricky part. See, it says found smart life, da 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 da. Well, that's impossible, really, because actually I had the device off when it did that. That's normal. Let it fail that first time. Don't freak out. Let's see if I got to put mine back in slow blink mode. Yeah, you notice my light's just on solid. So it's just going to fail. That's fine. Okay, let's see what we get into. Are we going to be in flat? See, now we're back in fast blink mode. A lot of devices will do that. You can see the pane. Now I need to put this back in slow blink mode. Apparently this one's 5 or 6 seconds. So then, see if we get slow. Now you'll know Tuya-Cloudcutter worked. You notice how the access point right here is showing A-85E1? That's awesome. Good job. Exploit worked because it changes it to that A dash. Now, just have patience. This can take a little bit. Don't jump the gun. Don't touch anything. Don't reboot anything. It's going to go through. It's going to flash the ESPHome Kickstarter firmware to it. And you don't want to interrupt that process. Now, there is some stuff if it gets stuck, and if it really gets stuck for a long time, like say 5-10 minutes, of course, you know it's really stuck. You can try the process again. Just go through and start it over again. Do the slow blink mode, power cycle, etc. If you're really getting stuck on things, again, I go jump into the Discord down below. You can see why I've been talking. It's still taking its time. And there it goes. I wanted to kind of I didn't want to edit this out because I wanted to kind of give you an idea of how long it does take, because it's, you know, that you're doing it. You don't get the option of editing out your life like I get to edit out videos. I wish I could edit out my life and do all the bad shit that I didn't need to do. But oh hell, that was fun though. It's going to make sure it gets to 98%. It's going to say, I actually heard it click off, but I'm still not going to touch it. Actually, at this point right now, if you look on your phone or if you have Wi-Fi in your computer, you should see an access point. It'll say like Kickstart -BK7231N or T. Boom. You know that's good. That's going to be the access point being put out by the actual power strip itself. So once you see that, you know we no longer have the damn dreaded Tuya firmware on this device. And then we'll jump into the next part. We're going to add this to the network and get into ESPHome. How freaking exciting is that? So once you're done like flashing ESPHome on the backend device, the Tuya device, whatever you want to call it, really you don't need the Pi anymore. Now, don't get rid of the SD card or anything, because of course you do have more devices to do. So, but it's already ready to go, and you just need to restart up the Cloudcutter process, pick the new device, and rock and roll and follow along in the guide. Now, once you plug in the new device, it should put out an access point of like Kickstart -BK7231T or N. Do connect that access point either using your phone or your computer, laptop, tablet, whatever. It's going to do the typical thing of trying to get on your network. It'll pick the SSID you want, hit the password, and hit save. Now, mine was giving me trouble here on the computer, so I just pulled up my phone, picked it, did the thing. You can see the screenshot here, hit save. Now, if it does join your network, I'm looking on my Wi-Fi here. I can actually see it's 10.292. And the problem is sometimes if you do connect to it and it shows the access point mode still, and I've seen this with many people before, even personally myself, don't freak out. It's just ESPHome being stupid for some reason, and turn the power off the device, wait a few seconds and turn it back on and wait for it to rejoin. It should be in Kickstart mode. What do I mean by that? This is what Kickstart is. If you don't get this just by browsing with your Chrome, Edge, whatever it may be, and pull up just the IP address in the browser, you should get this page. If not, just power cycle it and then come to it, check the IP, because this is important that we have and can see Kickstart. Now, this is where things are going to shift. is how do you exactly want to load things? How do you want to, put ESPHome on it, etc. I know some of you ESPHomers, you already see this right here where you can just push your bin file over to it. But be careful on what you push over. So we're going to actually go build one and push it right over to this power strip. Now, there's two ways to do this. The first way is actually using LT chip tool. That is also used for doing serial flash, which we've covered in another video. We'll cover it in some future stuff again, I'm sure, as well. And it does allow you to actually pull the pin config from most devices. How slick is that? Pretty damn awesome. It actually has that 10.10.292 IP I can actually go in and go grab from ESPHome Kickstart. You can also build it from the Cloudcutter device profile right here, which we'll go over, and I'll show you actually how to do that in the web without LT chip tool. So we'll just hit grab, and you'll see actually it's going to pull the config down, and it'll actually build the damn config right here for you. You can see here it's pretty damn slick. We have relay 1, that's pin 24, relay 2, relay 3, and then there's the button on P10. No having to figure out all the stupid pins and everything. It just pulls it straight in. Now, this doesn't work with every single device, but we'll go over that, how to pull that from the profile right after this. Now, you'll notice the ESPHome YAML tab is now, I like to uncheck some of this stuff. I don't like to add the MAC ID to the device name, but I'll leave everything else in there. And you can see it builds the config pretty close to what you need exactly for everything. Even has, I saw the newer thing they didn't have added for a while was the OTA platform. But you can see it pulled everything right there for you. Now, potentially there may be a better config on the UPK website from the Cloudcutter profile. Like CoSID has tweaked some things with it because maybe these were kind of wrong. So it's always good to kind of check. But if you have a new device, it can pull things right here and get you damn close, if not right on the money. If you do not have ESPHome add-on or container installed in your Home Assistant setup, you will definitely need that. This software makes it really simple for building all the bin files and managing all your devices. Don't be scared of it. It's just copying and pasting in some configs, hitting save, and then giving it the right name and send it over to your devices. You're not having to get all geeky and code and everything unless you really want to. Most of the stuff is, like I say, copy and paste. So if you don't have it installed, this is the video, I'm gonna go over this, but you can just go in here. It says get started from Home Assistant. They do if you want to do the command line stuff. I don't do that. I like the little pretty GUI. Well, it's not that pretty, but you can go in here and then do everything and install it, add on however you run your stuff. And once you do have the ugly GUI installed, is behind my fat head here, there is a green button that says new device. Now, this does change from time to time, but a lot of this hasn't. They did add some cool stuff here. I still wish they would put the damn blank option, but they haven't yet. Just hit continue. Now, the name, give it whatever name you want. I think I don't have a second one, so we'll just do plug-KMC3. And this is where I wish they would add in the damn blank thing. It doesn't matter what you pick here. At least they did add in the beckon stuff, but it doesn't matter. Just go through and pick one, whatever you feel like picking, because we're going to overwrite it all. So I'm not using the encryption keys. You can if you want. I'm going to hit skip and look for your device you just did. So plug KMC3, here it is. I'm going to overwrite like everything from LT chip tool. So we have it all here. I'm going to say copy the whole thing. And I'm not going to get rid of my name up there and the friendly name because that's the one I typed in and I don't want to screw that back up. I'm just going to delete all of this. Like you say, see, it doesn't matter which module you pick because we just nuked it all. And then I've copied that from LT chip tool and I'm pasting that back in. And yeah, you do end up with two ESPHomes. So you want to get rid of this one here because I don't need this one because that's that UPK2 ESPHome. Now it does have the API passwords. The problem is I don't have an API password. I just don't use it. So, but if you may have one configured, you can probably leave it in. Same thing, I don't have one for the OTA password. Just don't use them. So I just kind of used to clumping all those together. And I do need to go make sure my Wi-Fi is set. If you haven't already done that, you do need to make sure that you have an SSID and password set for your devices. And how do you do that in case you don't know? Is this your first time? The secrets file over here, if you click secrets, is you'll have all your secrets in here. Of course, mine are blurred, so you don't see all my wonderful little secrets that aren't really that secret because it's all local anyway. Now, I do use a different Wi-Fi domain, but that's just going to be extra for my setup since I don't use .local. And pretty much it. This guy's ready to go. Now, before I jump over, I wanted to show you how to grab your config from the UPK website in case you don't want to use LT chip tool. And of course, I'll leave all the links down there for these. Oh, we got white mode. Does dark mode work on this? Beautiful. It does. Kind of the same deal. If you want to pick your profile, and we're going to be on the KMC 3 outlet power strip. And you'll see it builds this all right here for you. You'll notice it's fairly close to what we just had. And it's all the way down here with the light status and all the buttons and everything. So now that we've got our config built, we're ready to put ESPHome on it. And of course, you're going to make sure to hit save, hit install. Now, there are a couple things we can do here. We do wirelessly, but we can't do that just yet because we've never had it on our network in ESPHome before. Plugging into the computer, no, we're not doing serial flashing. We're not plugging in it again. And you could do manual download. You could push it through the Kickstart little web page. Now, I like to do a little cheat, but if you just want to see, you could hit manual download and it's going to go through and build everything for you. And then I want to show you the prompt as they have changed some things for it. So depending on the build here, it can take a little bit, but I'm going to show you a little quick step after just so you can kind of get some little tricks and tips and see which method is best for you on how to install the bin files to your devices. Now, since I've already talked enough, I don't have to edit this out. I'm sure I'm thanking the editor's thanking me. So which one you'll want, if you wanted to push it through the website, you can see it says web server OTA. That can get confusing to some, but go ahead and click that, or that's also LT chip tool. It's going to download it. Do make sure you hit the keep button on Chrome, otherwise you're going to be digging around looking for your files. Now then, what you would do is take that file and then you would push it through the OTA update. Now, if you want to do it all in quick one step without having to switch back and forth and everything, you actually could come in here and under Wi-Fi, hit use underscore address and then put in that IP that LT chip tool has. Mine is 10.10.292. Now, don't forget to take this back out because in case the IP ever changes, you don't want to be sending this to a different device. So you can see really the cool part about this is now I can hit save and I can hit install and I can actually do the wirelessly part because it's actually going to push it straight over to the Kickstarter image automatically. Now, since it's already compiled, it doesn't have to recompile it again. And you'll see, boom, it sends it right over to Kickstarter. And you don't have to go flip to Kickstarter, hit browse, pick the right file and everything, and then you're good to go. Because this just saves some easy steps. It sends it right over. Make sure you don't remove power from things while it is flashing. Potentially, absolutely, that probably would brick things. So be careful with that. When you're flashing things, that have some patience when it sends it over through OTA. Now you can see it did take a while. It can, depending on things when it goes to flash, join your network, etc. If there's an issue with you messed up the Wi-Fi password or some reason it can't join the network, then it will be in access point mode and you can go save it and fix the things and get it all back online. Since we did use that little trick of that use IP address, don't forget to go in here and comment that out because you probably, IP addresses are going to change with DHCP at times and you don't want it sending to a different device, and make sure you do save that. How do we add it to Home Assistant? You'll notice you pull up Home Assistant. It's going to be right here. Should be notifications. I bet you I've got a new device. Now, potentially it could say it's this Kickstart name, but That's the original name when you had Kickstart on it. So just go ahead and hit add, and then go ahead and hit submit. And you'll notice it automatically fixed the name to plug KMC3. I'm not going to add any areas to it. Let's hit finish. ESPHomies, where the ESPHome integration, you should see a plug KMC3. And give it a check. Relay 1 and relay 3. We can actually see it on the camera here. You got relay 1. You can see it does one little LED here. Plus it does light up the LED behind the button. But again, since it is your device now, since taking out the cloud and you have your config, you can change that. You can use that button for whatever you want. You can make the LED whatever you want. Now, I do believe the LEDs above in this device, the LEDs above each plug are actually hardware tied, so you can't control those. But of course, it's your own doing what you want to do with the button and do all the things. So it's pretty much that easy to take out your devices from the damn Tuya-Cloud. So that'll about do it for this one. Hopefully this will maybe be the last time we update this guide. Unfortunately, yes, they are patching some of this. They have been patching the firmware in some of these. I've even done some previous videos on how to manually flash things that you could not do the over-the-air exploit. If you got some cool devices that really are awesome for doing the Tuya-Cloudcutter process or things that make it easier, definitely let us know down below. I'd like to share it with everybody. I'd definitely like to thank all the YouTube subscribers, Patreon members. Definitely couldn't do it without you. We couldn't bring these cool tutorials on how to take your shit out the cloud without you. And yep, y'all know the drill. Press all them buttons and y'all take care. Say, for instance, I'm going through and I can't find my exact device. You can come through down here and go to firmware version and name. You could try to match up and use one of the exploits from another device. It's not going to ruin anything if it doesn't work. It's just not going to exploit. It's going to stay on Tuya Cloud. It's not going to do the little A- such and such on the access points. Where do you find that? Yeah, you will need to download the Tuya app and then pair it up and go to the About upgrade option and see what firmware is on it. I believe you can do a login as guest, so you don't have to make an account if you don't want to do that. And then you can just look at the device and see what firmware is on it. And you can try, say for instance, if you've got 1.08, you may have to try a few different ones. Hey, what if I don't see my firmware version at all? Well, let's head over to the not so good page. It's called known patched firmware. If you find your known patched firmware on here for like, hey, I know I have 1314. I know I have in this version, etc. They will tell you where someone has reported that particular patched firmware version. So if you do find yours in the list, unfortunately, you will need to go ahead and just do a serial flash, and hopefully you can actually get to the serial pins. I've done a previous video on that, on using some BDM frame on a light switch. If you'd like to see some future stuff with that, again, redo some things, by all means, just let me know down below.